The What Are We Talking About podcast with your hosts, Antonio, Jenny, and Adam.
What the f*** are we talking about?
Nice.
That sounded really weird on mic. I'm just gonna say that right now.
It's gonna sound even better when editor Adam has to deal with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't wait to listen to it on loop until I come. Yeah. Yeah.
It'd just be your new text tone. Get it to loop to the.
I can do that. I'll totally fucking do that. I will totally do that.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of What Are We Even Talking About? The podcast where we just talk about wherever we want. I am the host for today because I won last time, and my name is Jenny. And then I'll let my players introduce themselves. Adam.
Hello, everybody. I'm Adam. Nice to figuratively meet you in the in the version of a disembodied voice.
Hello, I am Bottles, and if you feel something behind you, do not feel alarmed.
It's just a yokai.
Just don't look at it.
So for today's episode, I thought we would all bring our hot topics and debate them, or hot takes. So I think everyone should come up with their hot take.
Oh no.
Something that you think you would die on this hill for. Something that, we can sit here and go back and forth on. So something that we're all familiar with. But a hot topic or a hot take that you would like to debate and stand your ground 10 toes down on.
God, I gotta pick something you guys will know too.
Yeah, I think the Battle of Kofrobigabi is actually the best battle of the Kofrobigabi
Because that is 100% what I would do. I don't think it's overly a hot take, but I think it's, in terms of Sinnes as a whole, it would be a hot take. But I do have something. A hill that I'm absolutely willing to die on, 100%.
Okay. So we'll start with you, and then basically Antonio and I are gonna come at you, and you have to defend it for a little bit.
And
I'll ask some questions as we go too.
I don't know if you guys are.
And
really
Antonio,
be
even if
able
we
to...
agree with it, we have to play devil's advocate for it.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So what is your hot take?
My hot take is that, in particular, the Showa era Godzilla movies, so the films from the 50s all the way through the 1970s, but I'm going to say all of them should be counted as artistic good movies.
Okay. Now give your reasoning for it, how you got to that point.
My reasoning for it is because I ask a simple question, and I ask this of all movies. Does it succeed at what it wants to do? What was the original goal of the movie? And does it succeed? And I think overwhelmingly, especially the Showa era, they do. And I think that is a good criteria for any movie. Any movie. And if they succeed at what they were wanting to do, I think they should be looked as works of art. And not just really dumb, campy movies, even though they are those as well. I guess this could kind of go into the hot take. I believe you can have a dumb, campy popcorn movie, and it can still be a work of art.
Do you have other examples of that?
Sure. Let's look at the worst Godzilla movie. Considered one of the worst. Let's look at Godzilla vs. Megalon, which is widely considered one of the absolute biggest pieces of dog shit in cinema history by so many people. I think it's a masterpiece in its own bizarre way. And the reason why I think it's a masterpiece is because I look at it through the lens of the filmmakers who were making it, which was, we have no money, and yet we have to make a special effects heavy movie. And we have to make a movie that is very, very, very specifically aimed towards children. And we need to entertain those children for 90 minutes. In that, not only can I say, does Godzilla vs. Megalon succeed? I'd argue Godzilla vs. Megalon, in which features Godzilla teaming up with a robot Jack Nicholson fighting a giant cockroach and a giant cyborg chicken, I think the movie succeeds in droves.
you're kind of getting at here, and this is the thing that I really want to dig into you with that, is that you believe that if a movie has a artistic intent and they succeed in that, then that means that it should be seen as a piece of art, correct?
Now, that, to be clear, that's not saying you need to like it. That is saying
Okay.
you should see it as a piece of art.
Okay.
Right? Because there's plenty of art house movies that I've seen out there that I'm like, I can't fucking stand this film. But I can see it, and I'm like, that is a piece of art.
Okay, so what my poke and prod would be is, if there is a movie whose entire artistic intent is just to be a dumb popcorn flick, you would agree that that's still should be looked at as a serious piece of art.
If I'm entertained by it, yes.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so then it's only if you're entertained by it. Personally.
I can't say it's only me, and to bring it back to Godzilla vs. Megalon, I know it wasn't just me, because the movie, not only was it unbelievably successful, actually it wasn't successful in Japan, it was a bomb in Japan, but when it came over here, it was unbelievably successful. It was a huge hit when it was released over here in 1976. For the record, it was released in Japan in 1973. It took it 3 years to come over here. And how I can personally say that I know it succeeded is, one, it entertained me when I was a little kid. My God, was I fixated by this ridiculous movie that I was watching. Godzilla flying on his tail and kicking Megalon in the stomach not once but twice. Robot Jack Nicholson? A theme song? Hell yeah. Time me. I am on board with this. But not only did it entertain me, when my mother, and this is actually the main reason why I do think the movie succeeds and why it should be why it should be looked at as a piece of art in of itself, is because when my mother was running her daycare, right, she had these two little boys who were 5 and 6. And she said, Adam, entertain these kids for a little while I take care of these other ones. And I'm like, okay. I put on Godzilla vs. Megalon, fixed for 90 straight minutes, glued to the screen, their minds blown by the insanity that they were watching on screen. And I gotta admit, sitting there watching them experiencing this for the very first time, they're probably their first Godzilla film, and seeing them get so into it and laugh and just have fun and like treat it like a wrestling match, like getting up and rooting for Godzilla to kick Gigan's ass and stuff like that. It was a wonderful experience, and I'm like, my God, that there was the intent that the filmmakers had going into making this movie. They succeeded.
Now I want to get into like the bigger question then, is that you know, you're talking about artistic intent and whether or not they succeed or not. Who determines if the artist succeeds in what they were doing or not, or even if that was the artist's intent at all? Because sure, you have a beautiful personal anecdote about what it showed to you and what it showed to the kids that your mother took care of, but what in it tells you that the director succeeded in what they were doing? Like, how do you know the director's intent, and who determines that they succeed?
Well, they don't determine on who succeeds, but it's pretty easy to find interviews or anything with any of these filmmakers and directors, and they'll say this is our intent with the movie, in which it was to make a dumb, fun, stupid movie that entertained children. It's very easy to find interviews with any filmmaker from just about any movie. Literally just about any movie to know, including a lot of the really shitty but yet really entertaining sword and sandal movies made by the Italians at around the same time. It's very easy to find interviews with the filmmakers or producers or even some of the actors as to what was the intent with the movie. It was to entertain. That was it. Was I entertained? All right, I was entertained. Therefore, I think it should be looked at as a good movie.
Now, is it a good movie or a work of art, as you said before?
Well, I think an artistic film. That I'll clarify that as being an artistic film. Certainly not just laughed away. And I think that I should clarify that should be some of the key. Godzilla as a character has been laughed at for years. only recently has, particularly with the advent of Godzilla -1, and the huge, shocking success that film had. I mean, it won an Academy Award. That's awesome. It just was kind of poo-pooed on. If you liked Godzilla, you were considered a lesser than in Cines. Like, it's all over the place. You look at critics, they just write these movies off. Like, there's nothing there. Like, these are just dumb, horrible pieces of trash that nobody should ever pay attention to. And they're not. They're unbelievably entertaining. They're fun, they're lighthearted. They succeed at, usually telling some kind of a moral story hidden behind it, with the exception of the 70s. That's not really there in the 70s, but especially in the 60s, some kind of moral story, usually aimed for a younger audience, and by the 70s, definitely children, because the audience had changed. I don't like the fact that they're written off so easily. I just don't like it. I mean, I get it with my father all the time. It's like, why do you watch these stupid fucking movies? And I'm like, because they're entertaining. They're fun. The filmmakers wanted to make a dumb, fun movie. They did just that. Therefore,
and you wanted to watch a fun movie. Yeah.
And I wanted to watch a fun movie. Yeah, exactly. And that is what the filmmakers
not every movie
succeeded
needs
at.
to be, a masterpiece. Some could just be
A dumb popcorn movie. And I let me take something that you two might know at least a little bit more of. Let's talk about Marvel. Because Marvel, in many ways, is very similar to what the Godzilla films were, which were, movies being pumped out basically by a corporation, right? Or by a big corporation. And I can't sit here and say that I like the Marvel movies. In fact, most of them I could care fucking less about.
Mm-hmm.
But I can respect the intent of the films. And I can sit back and I can say they should be respected. And they should be looked at with an artistic lens. And not just written off as dumb popcorn fare.
So then can I also then ask you this? Speaking of something that would be, say, as you've been saying, is like, you'd be like, oh, why are you watching this, right? And I'm going to bring it into like the zone of television a little bit. A similar property, actually, it also has to do with like a dinosaur-like creature. Would you say that Barney the dinosaur should also get the same type of treatment of being taken artistically seriously?
Absolutely. I legit think that, because look at the impact Barney not only has had on fucking society, right? Everybody knows who Barney the dinosaur is, so clearly it's stuck around. But Barney also often had a beautiful message for children. Not as nuanced or handled as well as something like Sesame Street, another show which features, animatronic, creatures, talking to children. But they always had a nice little message in there, and they were always educational in some way. Absolutely they should be looked at in sort of this artistic lens, and saying like, yeah, look at the importance of this. Don't just write it off. Absolutely, I'll die on that hill.
But now I'm curious about, it's nice to hear about all these movie franchises that have these artistic values in mind and deep morals. What about when there's clearly a movie franchise, that they may not say it outright, but at this point you could just tell they're in it for the money. And I don't know, I'm not a Jurassic World Park fan, but you could tell by this point they are just churning them out, and they count on making money off the name Jurassic Park World, whatever, in itself. Are those still considered artistic because they met the goal of they're just churning them out for money?
Yes.
And that's what they succeeded in?
I think no. I don't think they're just in it for, I think they are. Well, all corporations are in it for the money. I just want to put that out there. All corporations, when making a film, are in it for the money. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I do think those Jurassic World movies should be looked at with an artistic lens. One, because there's clearly a huge audience for it, and there's a huge audience for it that like them. And then two, it's hard for me to say because I haven't seen them, but the one directed by Gareth Edwards, there's tons of interviews with him of what he wanted to do with the movie, which is kind of tell a bit of a darker, kind of a different take on a lot of the Jurassic Park stuff, and everything that I've read about that movie, it's definitely different from the other Jurassic Park movies. I would say absolutely. Go ahead. Look at it with an artistic lens. It probably succeeded at what it wanted to do. Whether or not everybody likes it, that's a different story. But
even like going back to the Marvel stuff, like you were saying before, I know quite a few people that are like, yeah, I'm over Marvel, but I just kind of got to stick with it at this point and keep seeing all of them in theaters just to say I saw them, you know, and to keep up with the franchise. So is the goal just to keep people coming back to the movies to see Marvel movies?
Well, that's definitely the corporation's mentality.
yeah.
It's just to get butts in seats.
I'm curious, like, how many of the Marvel actors are still deeply passionate about their characters 10 years later? Or
we
if
don't
they're
know.
done
I really don't know. I would honestly, the thing to make me judge that a little bit better would be look at interviews with the writers and the directors.
Mhm.
And that would inform me a little bit more. But there's clearly a lot of people that still like them because people are still going to theaters in droves to see them. So there's something to that.
Right.
And it's something that I don't think should be overlooked.
But we have gotten
Or not
away
just
from
thrown away.
your
And
original
not just...
hot-
Here's how it goes back to the hot take. We shouldn't ignore that, and we shouldn't just cast those movies aside as being nothing.
Is your hot take saying that the movies from the 50s and the 70s are better than current Godzilla movies, or just that these
No,
are getting like looked over?
For my personal opinion, yes, the movies from the 60s and 70s are certainly better than the movies from the early 2000s, not the movies from the 90s. And I can fight tooth and claw. That's my own hill I could die on separate from all this. But if I'm looking at it purely from the hill in which I am standing on for this particular subject, my answer would not be that one is superior to the others. It is just that they often get written off, and people who like them get written off like there's no tomorrow. Particularly film historians get written off like mad by cines, which are people who are like critics and everything like that, tend to write them off as just being stupid. And there's more to it than that. There's a lot more to it than that. There's a lot of really cool characters behind the scenes in terms of the making of this movie. I mean, the main writer, for example, of a lot of the Showa-era Godzilla movies was a dude named Shinichi Sekizawa. And he was a veteran of World War II. He was a Japanese soldier stationed in New Guinea, which was hell on earth. Like the worst fighting you could ever possibly imagine, and just the worst environment you could possibly imagine. And he made it his personal mission that when he got home to Japan, if he lived, he would live life to the absolute fullest and be merry and just eat and just enjoy life, because he's seen the absolute worst of it. And what's so fascinating about him is that if you watch the movies he specifically wrote, because there's two main writers at this time for these movies, the movies he specifically wrote are so majestically bonkers. They are unbelievably lighthearted. They're funny. They're cute at times, like Son of Godzilla is one of the most cute movies I've ever fucking seen. And it's clearly written by a guy who is having the time of his life writing these stupid, dumb movies. So instead of turning what easily could have made him a dark and drab human being, and justifiably so, and horribly affected by war, what did he do? He made very colorful, lighthearted, fun movies to cope with it. And that's so interesting. That's so interesting. That's so beautiful in its own way. And that's just one example of why I don't think you should write those movies off. That Cines should not just write these movies off. He went out there and said, I want to write colorful giant monster movies. And that's exactly what he did. And he succeeded in droves. He made the franchise as successful as it was. He's the reason why Godzilla is such a big thing to this day. It's him. It's beautiful. I don't know. It's beautiful. Brings a tear to my eye.
It'd be so easy for him to fall into like dark, depressing stuff, but for him to...
Which was the other writer, by the way. The other writer on the Toho field who was writing these movies was just that. He was a dark and drab individual who hated everybody and everything. and his movies tended to reflect that.
But yeah, it's interesting to see him take his like trauma and want to cope with it in such a wouldn't expect it way. Okay. So I think with that, we'll switch gears to Antonio. You have a hill you're willing to die on hot take.
Boy, do I. And I was trying to,
boy.
at the same time of trying to, poke and prod at your point, even though I agreed with it absolutely completely. Not, obviously I am not so much into the Godzilla stuff, but like just these things should have artistic merit is a thing that I'm very wholeheartedly believe in.
I have that
So
with Sonic.
I mean,
by the way.
I mean, as a Sonic fan,
I could care
because
less about it, but I can respect the shit out of it.
Yeah.
As being what it is, and I do,
Yeah. But and Sonic was one of those things for a long time that was getting overlooked and stuff like that. So out of the mode of playing devil's advocate, I completely agree with you. I believe literally, I would even go as far as to say that literally anything should be looked at with a dose of artistic seriousness, no matter what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But what I would say my hot take is, and there, especially with how people online tend to treat media, this is what I really want, what I truly think. And I think this would be for someone who consumes media and consumes so much media, whether it's television, movies, video games, books, whatever, it does not matter. I'm talking about all of media right now. This is my hot take. You should, and you owe it to yourself to consume bad media.
Define bad media.
So bad media in the sense of, let's say, an idea that is completely out there, or even if it makes no sense, like it's nonsensical, maybe even insensitive at times, or something that is shoddily made, like they clearly had no idea what they were doing when they were making it. They had no knowledge of the mechanics of how anything in their craft should work, but they made it anyway. I think, personally, you should still consume media like that.
Okay.
And what would be the goal of that? Like, why should I consume bad media?
I personally believe you should consume bad media because, for one thing, it gives you a better perspective as to what it is that you personally like. Because the concept of bad media is so subjective, like there is, obviously everyone's going to have a different opinion to other people. Something that you would go in thinking this is going to be horrible, you could then come out with a perspective of, oh man, maybe I did kind of see something there. Consuming bad media is such a great way to learn, especially as a creative, is a great way to learn about yourself and what you do and do not like about creating things.
So would a film like Empire, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with it or not.
That is the Andy Warhol of the Empire State Building for 8 hours.
So would you consider that in this category?
Yeah.
So we should consume all 8 hours of Empire.
Yes. Because you would 1,000% learn about why you would either appreciate it or you think it's really fucking stupid.
Challenge accepted.
Go on. Make a live stream of it. My reaction to all 8 hours of Empire.
Of Empire, unedited.
But like, if I'm thinking like going into personal anecdote, because my experience is all I can say because this is such a subjective matter. But going into something that I think is bad, even if I go into it and I end up not thinking that it's a good thing even after I'm done watching it, I think there is some fun to be had in picking it apart and seeing what you think doesn't work. In fact, a lot of the stuff that I, as a writer, uh, have learned was mostly through critiquing bad writing, because I'm like, okay, so this doesn't work because of this particular angle. And then there are some times where you just have fun with it anyway. Like over the Christmas holiday, did I watch Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer? No. Did I watch Arthur Christmas? No. Did I watch any of the Christmas classics that have been going on for generations? No. But you want to know what I had a great time fucking watching? The Grinch Who Stole Bitches.
Oh, I love that movie. I love that movie.
I thought you
It
were going to
is
tell me Hot Frosty.
Hot Frosty too. That movie, I went in thinking this is going to be a Lifetime / Hallmark like rip off, and it's not going to be good. And then we all watched it together at your place, Jenny, and we all ended up kind of liking it.
Yeah.
And
It
I
wasn't
do
that
that.
bad.
I personally do it a lot, where like sometimes Jess and I'll be bored and we're just like, let's throw on a Lifetime movie. Most of the time they're bad. Sometimes we're like, okay, that was actually surprisingly interesting. You gotta throw yourselves into the mix of media, even if you think it's going to be bad, because you learn a lot about what entertains you and how your brain reacts to media through doing that. And even to bring it into like my wheelhouse of like video games and stuff like that, I even think playing a bad game is also valuable in the sense that you then learn what it is that you like about good ones, the ones that you do enjoy. It's all about your building and refining your perspective.
Like, let's talk about a bad video game.
well,
Do you mean, say the controls are completely broken, like the game is just unplayably broken?
Mm-hmm.
You know, do you still think you get anything out of that, or are you just like rage quitting at that point?
Personally, and this is out of something that's happening right now. um, I started streaming myself learning how to speedrun a game called Bubsy 3D, which is one of the worst games ever made. And going into it, I knew that it's a bad game. Like, it controls bad, it looks bad, it sounds bad. There is not a good thing in this game. And I watched a lot of people play it, and I watched a lot of people talk about it, and I'm like, yeah, that's a bad game. But now playing it for myself, I can now tell you specifically what does not work about it. And I think having that experience for yourself will refine your abilities to that, as most people online like to do. It refines your abilities to critique something.
Your ability to critique something. Could you not critique a good movie by, instead of focusing on the bad, wouldn't it be more worthwhile to watch something good and focus on the good and try to learn from that?
Much like in life, you do not truly appreciate how good and impressive something is until you've experienced the worst or the bad. I truly believe that, and I will die on that hill.
I also have a question in regards to your stance. If in which we have to watch nothing, or we have to watch, not nothing but bad movies, but we have to watch bad movies in order to understand what good is, doesn't that also run the risk of you accidentally imitating the bad and not the good?
Well, in that sense, I would say that if you found some value in it and you saw something in it that resonated with you, then I think that is an appropriate thing to be a part of your artistic expression, because your artistic expression is no one but yours.
Okay.
I feel a lot of how you interpret and create and critique media, which I guess critique and interpret are the same thing, but regardless, how you interact with media in general is very personal to the person, which is why I think that bad media shouldn't just be like, oh, well, I didn't see that because I didn't like it. And, this is completely out of the realm of like financial stuff. I want to throw that. I don't want that to be relevant right now. I don't think that should be relevant. I'm just talking about if you have the means to watch something, even if you think it's bad, you should still try it. In
So
whatever
we should look at films like food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You never know if you like it if you don't try it. And I personally go into a lot of stuff like with this mentality. Like for example with the Wild Ride series that we do, where on my channel, where Peter had me go through all of the Kingdom Hearts games. I didn't know if I was going to like them. I didn't, I'm not a big Disney person. I'm not even a big Final Fantasy person. In fact, I'm less of a Final Fantasy person than I am a Disney person. So you're going to throw me into this crossover and, all I hear about is, oh, the story is so convoluted and stupid and complicated and you're never going to understand it. So, going into it, I'm like, the odds are against me that if I'm going to like these games or not. And that's even to say like, okay, so you have this game that's good, but then you have this game that's bad, and then this game that's good, and this game, it's like a varying quality thing of this franchise that I have now entombed myself in. But if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have come out of that series liking the series. I like it. I do. And now I have a more educated sense of where the fans don't like it, where I stand on that, and where the fans do like it, and I stand on that.
How are you supposed to form your own opinion if you don't play it for yourself?
Exactly. That is
So
exactly
I get that.
how I feel. And it's the same thing with like movies or
So if
television.
somebody comes up to you and says, "Okay, let's look at this movie. We know it's objectively terrible. This movie is objectively This movie is objectively terrible." The question that I would have is, why would I want to waste my time on that if I know it's bad?
Because I think there is educational value in wasting your time with something that's bad. Because now you can articulate, this is why this is bad. And I don't know, personally for me, I feel like that's very valuable in determining not even just your taste in movies, but also it's part of who you are as a person.
So then I have a follow-up kind of to an earlier question that kind of feeds into this. I love how I just raised my hand like I was waiting for you to call on me or something.
I know we're not sharing our videos, but Adam, I see your hand raised and I would like to call on you. Please share with the class.
My question for you is, so if it's going to help you as an artist, right? Don't you think it would be a little more advantageous to, instead of thinking of what you don't want to do, and instead focus on something you do want to do?
I see what you're saying, and I am not arguing that watching bad media will give you a better perspective than watching good media. I'm saying that watching bad media can have just as good value as watching stuff that you find interesting or good. I think both have equal value in developing you as whether you want to watch movies to critique them or watch movies to just experience them, or if you create yourself. I think either way, they have equal value within each other.
So you don't think consuming the good to try to create good and consuming the bad to try to avoid the bad are two different things?
Honestly,
no. I think I worded that weird. If you can't answer that, I understand. I think I worded that weird.
No, I think I kind of understand what you're saying. Is that you think that the question being watching the good to do good, but watching the bad to avoid bad, are those equal in value is what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yes. And also because now I want to talk about the nuances of a piece of media, right? You usually, I would say that this is true for almost anything. Any bad piece of media, whether it be a book or a movie or a game or something like that, it's usually not 100% bad or 100% good. I'm sure you could find any movie that is hailed as one of the greatest movies of all time, and you could probably find at least 3 things wrong with it. Just like you could find a bad piece of media and you could probably find something that's good about it. Like if I were to give the example of, like, let's go back to The Grinch Stole Bitches, right? As bad
Sure.
as bad off as that movie is, I can tell that the people who made that movie were having the time of their lives, and I think that that has value in a piece of media, is how passionate you are, no matter what the quality of it that comes out of it. And now I know that about myself, that passion in a project means something to me, or at least seeming like you have passion in a project means something to me.
So I have one more question.
Okay.
So I feel like we're coming at this at the 3 of us are filmmakers, content creators. I feel like we're coming at it from a very stat point of view standpoint. Like we're trying to learn something to improve our writing. What if I just want to watch a movie to be entertained? Or even someone who has no stake in writing or learning what they want to improve in their creative process. Should a person who has nothing to do with that realm still consume bad media to help them learn, even though they're not interested in learning?
I think so, because I think that you could still find entertainment in I think you could still find entertainment in consuming something that isn't as good as what would contemporarily be seen as good, because then you kind of get into a more open headspace, I would say. So
Okay.
I still think that there's value even for the average moviegoer.
Okay. So I think that now that both of you have pled your cases, I think we'll circle back to Adam and get his final stand, your final closing statement on why you think you are willing to die on your hill for your hot take.
Well, there's a few different reasons why I'm willing to die on my hill that I think we should be looking at the Godzilla movies with a bit of an artistic lens instead of just being written off by everybody as nothing but garbage. One reason being I fucking love these movies. They informed my childhood. They are vastly entertaining. The artistic value of the miniature effects and the special effects and the artistry and all of the hard work that went into it, I don't think it deserves to be written off. And I'm tired of seeing it being written off, and I'm tired of people doing nothing but laugh at it, per se. And that's a bit of a stretch because, Godzilla versus Megalon, you definitely can laugh at it. But again, that's part of the point of why they wanted to make it, was to entertain kids. So the final summation of the whole thing is, because these movies were made from a very specific standpoint with a very specific goal in mind, and not only do they succeed in those goals, I have personally seen them succeed in those goals, they shouldn't be just written off as garbage. They should be looked at with an artistic lens and appreciated for exactly what they are.
All right, and then we'll circle back to Bottles for your closing statement, final stand on your hot
Sure.
take.
Okay, so I think whether you are a creator yourself, an average moviegoer, a critic, anything that a person would, any reason a person would want to consume media, I think there is nothing more valuable to a person than developing your perspective. And to get a well-rounded perspective, you need to see things of all qualities and learn what you jive with, what you don't. And you are not going to be able to do that unless you see the bad stuff too, or just try stuff that you think is probably going to be bad. And I think that there is nothing more valuable than building a perspective for yourself and how you view life.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing your hot takes. I definitely am. It was very interesting to hear your arguments and your sides and your counter arguments with each other. That was very fun for me. Before I reveal who I think, shall be the winner for today, I
Oh,
just
can I
wanted to
just
say,
may
Mhm.
I just say something really quick
Yeah.
about Antonio's argument? I agree with Antonio's argument. I don't know if I agree with it to the extent that he does, because I do believe in consuming the good for the sake of the good.
I mean, I believe in that too. I'm just
well,
saying that.
I should say
yeah.
I believe in consuming the good and using that good. I think I hold in a little bit higher light than you do, while you kind of look at them more on like an equal footing.
Mhm.
I do tend to agree with Antonio's stance, actually to the point that I personally don't think Antonio's take is a hot take.
You don't think so?
I don't think it's a hot take. I think I've heard that plenty of times, particularly from YouTubers. I think that's a pretty common stance.
You see, it's interesting because whenever I see stuff about media critique, even like especially with people online, like people on
Mhm.
YouTube, is that I tend to see sort of the opposite, where they're like, a lot of people will have the stance of like, I've consumed this piece of bad media, you should avoid it.
Yeah,
And
I
I don't
watch
I'm the
it
think
so
I
you
don't
nostalgia.
don't
think
have
that.
to.
I'm the nostalgia critic. I
I mean, as much as I love Doug Walker as a creator, he did kind of start that.
He did. Oh yeah, absolutely he did. Yeah. What was his slogan?
I remember it so you don't have
I
to.
remember it so you don't have to. I couldn't remember if it was I
Yeah.
remember or I watch it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I see so many YouTube videos that are I watch this so you don't have to, and
Well,
here's the summary of it, and here's why it's so bad.
it's like fucking there's a couple of YouTubers that drive me up the wall because that's all they do is complain, and it's so big, particularly with the Star Wars fandom for some reason.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah.
It's so bad and it's so negative for the sake of being negative that I actually kind of argue that it goes against. You could use that as a counterpoint to Antonio's thing because it's just them consuming bad and focusing on the bad for the sake of the bad, and that
Yeah,
is
but
a possible extreme of your
Yeah.
stance. And that's kind of what I was trying to get at with my questions without directly saying that just this.
Mhm.
But
I kind of think it's interesting that your guys' hot takes like overlapped a little bit.
they do
a little
overlap.
bit, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, Adam, you were saying that people just kind of laugh and write them off as bad movies, and Antonio
Mine was
saying, yeah, but
definitely
we
mine
should
was
still
definitely
consume them.
mine was definitely a lot more focused than Antonio's was. Antonio kind of went with broad strokes. I went with this particular franchise.
Right.
Yeah.
This
This
particular franchise is
particular-
where I'm
yeah.
standing on this.
But I thought it was very interesting that your guys' like hot topics could have overlaid each other a little bit.
Yeah, we could have gone to Hot Topic together and went shopping. Absolutely. Yeah.
Get ourselves some
And then go to Spencer's
lipstick and
afterwards.
eyeliner.
Absolutely. Oh, let's go to this. Oh, we can't forget about the sex toys.
No, that's Spencer's. That's Spencer's.
Oh, that's
I was just
Spencer's?
gonna go to
That's not Hot
Spencer's
Topic?
next.
Okay, never
Spencer's.
mind. See, we don't have any of
There's
those around
usually a
here, so I
Spencer's
don't really
across
know.
There's usually a Spencer's across the way in the mall from the hot
Very
topic.
true.
Okay.
I am gonna give today's win to Adam,
Oh.
specifically because I loved listening to him counter argue on Antonio's hot take. I thought Adam brought up a lot of really great points, and made
Oh.
me
Okay.
listen to his counter.
I thought I was doomed. I was like, Antonio got
mean,
really
I like how-
very philosophical at the end there. I was like, wow, that's actually really beautiful. What you just said.
I like the philosophical debate. But I thought you brought up a lot of really good counterpoints. And Antonio, I do agree with yours, to the extent that we should be consuming all aspects of media so we can learn from what we don't like and do like. But I enjoyed listening to Adam's counterpoint when I know he was playing devil's advocate. So
Wow, look at that. Me being an asshole actually got me to a victory.
I concede to the victor.
So yeah, you'll be the host next time, Adam. Congratulations.
Hold on to your asses.
We're talking about the Civil War next time.
Everyone bring
oh
your
my god,
favorite battle and discuss it.
that would be fucking hysterical if I do to you two what Antonio did with me and Sonic on that one episode,
Yeah.
but I do it to the Civil War on YouTube. That would be
Oh my-
fucking hysterical.
I would make so much shit up. I'd make my own fan characters, give them their own backstories.
It would just be a D&D campaign at that point.
Yeah, at
Just
this
making
point.
shit up.
Yeah. Right.
Fantasy
So-
places. Fantasy
Yeah, I have
names.
General Robert Brown. He's a bard.
Level
Charge of the
5.
musician corps.
The Union's coming. Roll for initiative.
Well, yeah, kind of actually.
Wait, why am I
Then
on the
eventually
conservative? Why am I on the Confederate side? Hold on. I gotta unpack that.
Surprise!
Yeah, why was that your go-to?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
And on that
Alright.
lovely note, thank you so much for joining us for today's episode. My name's Jenny. You could find my social media and YouTube channel links in the description under Magically Jenny. Bottles, go ahead.
Hi, I play video games a lot, good and bad ones, and I talk about them a lot. Game Controller Network in the description below. You can find me there. Subscribe, maybe.
I don't really need to pimp myself out, considering the fact that this is ANPTV and you're already here. Hooray! But all links to
Alright,
their
shut up.
channels, all of those links are available in the description below. We've got tons of stuff on the ANP network that you guys can check out. Everything's right there on the channel. Have at it.
So yeah, thanks so much for joining us for today's episode, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye.
Bye bye.
I'm gonna take 3 naps.